Welcome back to the She Sells, He Sells podcast, where we are here to change the way you think about sales by getting you to look at it in a whole new way.
Little change there. We just say teaching. I said teaching you to look at it a whole new way.
You
said getting you to look at it. So we're changing the tagline here. We're getting crazy here at She Sells, He Sells.
Riffing, as the kids say. So I'm going to stop you right here. And if you did not listen to our previous episode, number 104, so this is 105. If you didn't listen to episode 104, you're going to want to stop and go ahead and do that first, because what we're talking about is going to be simply an extension of that. We're picking up where we left off, which is talking about sales styles. Mm-hmm. And we have the quiz. So if you haven't taken the quiz, you want to do that. You want to listen to episode 104, and then you're going to come here as we're going to break down these sales styles and talk to you a little bit about, based on your sales style, what you can do to really maximize your strengths and how you can start to sharpen the area in which you need to grow.
Right. And this is only going to be beneficial if you know what that is, right?
Exactly.
So if you haven't done it, please stop and do it. Otherwise, you're sort of shortchanging yourself for the next 3 hours or however long we're going to be here together today.
Oh, wow. Really?
There are some podcasts that are like 3 hours long.
I know. I don't get it.
I don't know. I tried to listen to one the other day when I was like out doing stuff in the yard.
What was it?
And it was pretty, I can't remember, but it was like, I looked at it originally and it said 190 some minutes, or no, it said 140 some minutes. And I thought it originally meant like 14 minutes. And then I thought, well, that's so quick. But it was literally 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I didn't get through it. Rich
Roll podcast, who I really do love, Rich Roll. He's a great interviewer and such a good podcast. I think I've talked about it before. His are really long like that. And they're interviews.
Yeah. Yes, what this was, very in-depth interview. I mean, it was kind of cool. It was fun, but I just couldn't. I didn't finish it.
Yeah, it's crazy. So we'll kick us off with a fun fact before we get into the meat of things. And I think just in general, high school's been on our mind because our daughters are both in high school, and just kind of it's so interesting as your kids go through high school experiences. For me, it's just brought back so many memories of my own high school experience. And fun fact, you probably already know, Brian and I went to high school together. And fun fact you might not know is that we ran against each other for, I think it was junior class.
I don't remember.
Or senior class. One of junior class president. Yeah. We're going to go with that. There were two candidates, and it was Brian Dempscher versus Krista.
Really? There's only two?
How do you know?
No, I thought there was always more than two. I didn't know that.
No, there's only two. Because
it was a real mudslinging campaign. I do remember it got ugly real quick.
The thing is, there was no campaign. There's no posters. There's no thing. It's basically a popularity contest. So it's clear who won.
Very low bar. We said.
Are you going to say who won?
No, you were saying.
You're going to say who won.
I won.
Yes.
I won.
I lost.
And it remains to this day the pinnacle of my existence. So I peaked at 17, and it's been downhill since.
No, you did win. You beat me out. You were definitely more popular and well liked
at that time. Now, not clearly not the case.
Do you think you still are?
No, not with our kids. Not with, for sure, definitely.
In different areas, we're liked in different areas for different things.
Right. Yeah. Just like we have different strengths, like your Venn diagram highlights.
Yes, except we are both the same sales type. So
allegedly,
yes. So don't say allegedly.
No, I'm kidding. I know. I'm joking about it because I was surprised to learn that about it. But I really think it's cool. And then when I understand it more, I realize that is much more accurate than I really it's a much more accurate representation of me than what I thought I was before.
Right. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the three different sales types. Yep. So there is the expert, the educator, and the engager. Mm-hmm. So we're going to go through one by one, and we'll talk a little bit about strengths and how you might be able to improve. So the expert, as we talked about last episode, is someone who is really good at synthesizing information, taking their own personal stories, tying it into what they're selling, whether that's a product, service, or an idea, and delivering them and creating a message. The weaker part of that person, and again, these can be, they can still be really good at that, but they lean more into the synthesizing of the information. The delivery is, out of all three, their weaker area. And so when I think of an expert, and really what we want you to do is, when you know this about yourself, you lean into the strengths, right? It's just like in business. If you have a revenue stream that's performing really well, sometimes what we think is like, I need to create another one because I have one that's performing really well. I need another one. No. You want to double down on the one that's doing well. You want to make sure you've maximized that to its full potential before you do something else. So same thing with these strengths. You want to maximize your strengths, and then you want to pay attention to your weak area, but you do really want to maximize your strengths. And so the expert in a digital world, how you would emphasize these strengths is by really presenting data, presenting facts, presenting features. Now, how do you do it in a way that's not a total snooze fest? You might be somebody who could create a lot of like infographics, a lot of visuals. So things you create on Canva to show the visual backing of the data into what you're talking about. You also might really lean into green screens. So green screen, do you know what that is, bro?
I've seen it on the news.
Oh, yeah. Okay. If you're not familiar with that, on Instagram, there's a way you can do a green screen, so you can put a photo. I
did not know that. You could do that on Instagram, by the way.
Do you watch my
Instagram? All the time. I just didn't realize that that it was called a green screen.
Well, it's like the name of the filter. Yeah. So you can put a photo behind you showing a feature, showing a graph, and you can talk about that. It's good to lean into this. It's good to be seen as an expert. Experts are well trusted, and people, business moves at the speed of trust, expert and relational. So absolutely, leaning into that is really important.
Yeah. Yeah. I think of, Bill Gates is an expert, right?
Yes.
People respect his opinion on all things tech, right? Steve Jobs was an expert. People respect his opinion on all things tech, right? This is a good thing to be. I will say, you talk about leaning into what you're good at, and you're talking about the digital online world. If you're doing this in person, again, there was a famous coach, and I wish I could remember who said it, but there was this saying a long time ago about like, there was a coach who was talking to his team about and he was answering these questions about why are you not changing what you do, and his message was, well, you dance with a girl who brung you, right? And the idea was lean into what you're good at, right? Like if you're a team that likes to throw the ball a lot, if you're a team that runs the option, do that thing, right? Now, you got to find some other ways to put some wrinkles in it, which I think is what you're saying. But if you're a person who leans into this and gravitationally is naturally pulled to this, that's great. Find some interesting little sort of sub pieces of data that you can share, right? I think in terms of when I've met these experts, and they're sort of, sometimes we oversimplify by saying they're data-driven people. They like to share information. I think a great way to say this is, hey, look, we all know, if you're in an in-person meeting, we all know that X is true, right? Did you know that Y is also true? Sort of share something that's maybe a little bit less well-known, which allows you to sort of lean into this piece of you being sort of this, educator, expert sharer, right? And allows you to sort of kind of lean into that idea, but also makes it maybe a little bit more interesting and a little bit more of a sort of, I didn't know that factor for your audience.
And so the area of growth for most experts is the way they deliver,
right,
is their communication skills. And the way you get better at communication skills is by practicing, by doing it and refining it. So for this person, as silly as it sounds, like doing the talking to yourself in the mirror, videoing yourself and watching it back, role-playing sales conversations, because this person is going to thrive more in a one-to-many situation than they are in a one-to-one. Having somebody sit down and practice that with you, and also just kind of like fumbling through, allowing it to be messy. You don't want to shy away from that one-on-one stuff because you're like, well, that's not really my thing. Like, you still need that. So leaning into it, practicing it, to refine your skills.
Slow down, ask questions is another thing I think of when I think of these types of people that I've worked with in the past, right? They have so much to share. They have so much information that that's super valuable as a customer, right? But slow down, ask some questions.
Listen to understand, not to respond. Yeah. And we're going to be going through this. Well, I'm going to be going through this in detail in the free masterclass happening April 3rd. We're linking that in the show notes so you can grab your spot there. But it's the Sales Style Secrets. We're going to get into this a little bit more deeply. Next profile is the educator.
Educator, yeah. That's what we talked about previously. So this is the person that sort of is, they know what to say and they know how to say it, right? So they're very comfortable being sort of the person who knows a lot about what they're selling, and they're also very comfortable with their delivery to what they're selling, right?
Yeah, think of your favorite college professor, your favorite high school or even elementary school teacher.
Do people have a favorite college professor?
I do.
Did you? Oh, wow.
Dr. Lillian Carter.
Oh,
yes.
Still to this day.
You know what she taught?
I could guess. I could wager a guess. I think it might be a weird class that.
Yeah. Human sexuality.
Yeah, human sexuality.
She was so good, and that was a class that felt very uncomfortable
Yeah.
for everybody.
Well, that's a real skill.
Right.
I
She
mean, to
was so
teach that
good.
and make it feel comfortable for you.
Yeah.
I didn't have I don't think I can remember a favorite college professor. Anyhow.
Or just your favorite leader.
Yeah.
When you think of those people, they probably didn't share a lot about their own personal life when you think of a teacher, right? You might know little bits and pieces, but they're not necessarily someone who is going to be sharing all these personal details about themselves, as they shouldn't. Like some of our kids will tell us about teachers that share way too much personal details. I'm like,
oversharing,
yeah, I don't think that's the vibe. So what you want to do is you do want to lean into this piece of yourself that really wants to educate people. You want to teach people. You want to show them a better way. So how do you do this? Finding ways to deliver virtually. Instagram Live, Facebook Live, those things are golden for you. A lot of talking to the camera reels and breaking things down. That is where you are going to thrive. Even in a one-to-one conversation, you will thrive. Think of a teacher sitting down next to you, synthesizing information. You're someone who probably already has a framework created or a signature methodology. If you don't, definitely lean into that, because that's going to set you apart. It's going to make the education piece of who you are more marketable.
Yeah, this to me is Mike Krzyzewski. You guys have heard me talk about Mike Krzyzewski before. I've got a massive crush on Mike Krzyzewski. I love Coach K. I think most people, a lot of people I know have a ton of respect for that guy. This is the educator, right? This is the guy who totally understands what they're saying. They're the subject matter expert, and they totally understand how they're saying it, right? That message and that communication piece. But what do you really know about Mike Krzyzewski other than, if you're a huge basketball fan, you probably know that he went to West Point because they say that a bunch of times. That's really it, though, right? Personal life outside of basketball. We're only now just starting to get to know that. You just shared with me a Mike Krzyzewski masterclass. Thank you. That I really want to listen to. But he was on. There's a podcast that a West Point alumni thing I listened to, and the guy asking the questions to Mike Krzyzewski asked a lot of questions about personal stuff and how he felt about things. And it was amazing that even though I listened to that podcast and I have a ton of respect for him, he kept saying things like, well, this isn't about me, right? Like they were talking about the U.S. Olympic team when he had the Redeem team and all that stuff. Well, it's not about me. It's about those guys, Kobe and LeBron. And he kept doing that. And that's just, I think, who he is as a person, but almost like there's a level of discomfort there for him, right? But leaning into that, like, it's not about me, and then leaning into that specific thing about, like, I've got a process, and here's the process we followed, and these guys did a great job with that process, right? That's, I think, what you're getting
Absolutely.
at. Yeah.
But then I would say, in the world that we live in right now, you have to lean into your personal things. Now, this does not mean you need to tell everybody every part of your life. This does not mean, I have some clients that are like, I don't want my family on social media. I don't want to show them. I actually just met someone who doesn't even share her last name. But so they try to keep things very private, but you still need a personal aspect. So she doesn't share her last name, but she does share how she lives in New York City and she's on the hunt to find the best rainbow sprinkle cookie in New York City. And she's taking you behind the scenes and she loves the sugar.
That's good.
Yeah. So like, it's a perfect example of she's still the person. You relate to her. You don't know a lot about her, but you see her as a person. So you have to kind of take the mask off and the glasses of the teacher off and share some vulnerable, authentic things about you if you're the educator. So leaning into, where are some micro moments in my life that I can tell a story that relates to these educational pieces is key. Yeah.
I think one other cool thing is, you mentioned before, we talked about this previously, was like, what's something a really boring fact about you, right?
Yes.
Something that's simple and easy just to get you talking and sort of kind of grease the skids a little bit, right?
Yes,
Like make
absolutely.
you feel these are the people, and they would feel less likely to want to kick off a conversation with a personal fact, right? So that little thing allows them to sort of feel like, gets the shoulders down a little bit, feel a little bit more relaxed.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're going to make people feel more at ease. And then the last type is the engager.
Right.
So this is someone who is really good at those personal stories. You feel like you know them, whether they're telling a whole bunch of stuff or they're telling just a little bit. But they are great at putting you at ease, building that relational trust. And they're also really great at delivering those stories, whether that is in a one-on-one situation or a one-to-many. You're going to listen to this person speak. And again, I don't remember if I said this on this episode or the last one, but you're going to feel like, oh, I want to get to know them better. Like I want to sit down with them. This is where both you and I ranked in this, which, didn't surprise me about myself, but surprised you about yourself.
A little bit, yeah.
But again, it doesn't mean you don't have the other pieces. It means this is where your natural strengths lie. Sitting down next to somebody and making them feel really comfortable, letting them feel like they know you. And I think it's my level of in my business, sharing personal stories is a lot higher than yours in your business.
Oh, totally.
But we still find a way to do it.
Yeah.
Where the engager can grow is in the details, in the facts. And I said that for you.
You're staring me down, right? No, I agree.
In the facts and the figures and the data, because this is back to like the Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You can get someone to buy something by simply being nice to them and getting to know them. Mm-hmm. Not true anymore.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, that needs an update for 2024.
I mean, I love that book. That book is amazing, and there's so many good things. But you still need to show some data.
Yeah.
If you're in the online world, you need to create some case studies, some testimonials. You need screenshots of people telling you things. I have to remind myself all the time, oh yeah, I need to share that, because for me, I'd rather just talk about things, and so you have to remember those things. But again, if you are an engager, you should have sales calls as a normal part of your sales process, because you're probably very good at them. You're probably going to close most of your sales calls. I don't do a lot of I'm giving myself this advice because I don't do a lot of sales calls, because I'm like, oh, it takes so much time. But actually, I know they do work for me very well.
Yeah. And to me, again, that's why I'm so still, until I can learn and be proven otherwise, I believe in that sales call. And especially anytime I have the opportunity to be face-to-face with someone, I feel like that's leading with my best foot for me personally. So something that I really kind of lean into. I think it's interesting that you say that. And I remember a few years ago, I had the opportunity to go to that seminar in Des Moines, Iowa, of all places. And they talked through some things that kind of hit on this, but more sort of focused on what type of person. It was all Myers-Briggs based, right? So how is the person receiving your message, right? And this idea that you may think as the engager, right, the who I am and the how I'm saying it is the most important thing. And it might be to you, right? But there are a subset of people out there that really grasp onto that data and that information that you think is not the most important thing, right? So being able to incorporate some of that, or at least have some points to hit up on that really highlight the value of that, right? We talked about the expert, and I gave Steve Jobs. We talked about the educator, and I gave Coach K. We think about the engager, and I give Krista Dempscher, right? I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, it totally is it, the perfect embodiment of the engager. Again, no, I'm kidding, but not kidding. But it doesn't mean that.
What?
It doesn't mean that you can't supply. I look at it this way. It doesn't mean you cannot supply or don't have the ability to supply data, and I hate the idea of data because I look at that as more as like a value proposition. It just means that sometimes you don't think it's as important, and you don't put it quite high in the pecking order when you're planning out your pre-call plan.
Agreed. Yeah. So if you listen to that first episode or last week's episode, we talked about the visual, and really we want to be moving to the middle. That is the goal. We're leaning towards one of the three sides of the triangle, but the goal is to move towards the middle. How do you move towards the middle? You do lean into your own strengths, but then you try to sharpen that other one. And so that is going to push you a little bit more in that direction. Again, I'm hosting. I keep saying we're, and
Are you inviting me?
I mean, you can be a student.
Oh.
Maybe you'll do a cameo. We'll see. But
if I'm good that week.
We're hosting a free masterclass, The Sales Style Secret, where we are going to help you. I'm going to help you learn to lean into the natural strength and sell with confidence. This masterclass will also have the doors opened on that masterclass for Amplify, which is the program that goes deep in those three areas: the who you are, the what you say, the how you say it. It is new and improved. I'm so pumped about the stuff I've created for it. So come to the masterclass to learn more about that and also get a discount. Woo woo. Only if you're on the masterclass, though.
I'm definitely getting a discount. I'm not paying full price.
No.
I refuse.
We'll see what I can do. But
it is worth it, just in case you're wondering.
Yes. So thanks, everybody, for listening. Cannot wait to see you on the masterclass. And hopefully these sales styles have helped open your eyes to what's cool and unique about you.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, everyone.
All right. See you next week.